Hello there, I'm MountPain27 and this is Dean of Doom, the show where we give grades to classic and contemporary Doom wads. Why? Because ranking things is fun. How many textures should you use when making a Doom map? Well, today's episode will be dedicated to 50 Shades of Graytall, a half-megawad released in 2015 as a joking response to that question. Their answer? 3. Doortrak, fireblu, and graytall. What began as lighthearted forum banter blossomed into a full project led by Marcaek Fraize. Participants were tasked with making visually appealing levels under erotically asphyxiating constraints. Don't think I meant to put that word there. Other than graytall, doortrak, and fireblu, mappers were only allowed to use the sky, decorations, one flat of their choice, and as many lighting effects and off-screen textures as they liked, but no essential textures like doors, switches, or color markers. This is the kind of map set I want more people to know about. It's an ideal showcase for the Doom community's creativity and kooky sense of humor, and the designers' varied approaches to gameplay make opening each new map an adventure. Before we get started, here's how the show works. Every map gets one grade for quality and one for difficulty. Quality grades go from A to F. Grade A levels are fun, memorable, visually distinctive, creative, and a fair challenge. We grade difficulty from X to E, X for extreme, E for easy, A through D in between. Keep in mind, my idea of a great map is probably not the same as yours, but that's okay. Disagreeing is part of the fun, after all. At the end of the day, this show is about spreading the joy of Doom, so let's do so. Before we start, the rules are we play on ultra-violence and must pistol start each level. I need to play the wad twice before reviewing it. Saves are allowed, and we go for 100% kills in all levels, making exceptions when it's just not worth it. I play on Z-Doom, and today's compatibility is boom. Now to the wad. Map 1, Entry Gray. I love the smell of ripe puns at harvest time. So the 50 Shades palette has a lot less than 50 shades. Get ready for a junior megawad's worth of graytall slabs, fireblue spikes, dollops of doortrak, and the prismatic skyboxes. Not exactly an ocular buffet, but let's see what can be done with it. Jimmy Paddock's humble opener paints in broad strokes and does little with lighting, making for a plain and somewhat forgettable opener. Without the secret SSG, these 4 revenants are unpleasant to deal with, and let me tell you, finding secrets in maps made out of 3 textures is not easy. Besides being the unlucky first map to wrangle with the prohibition of switch textures, Entry Gray is only noteworthy for graytallifying the secret shotgun courtyard from Doom 2's opener. Grade C, difficulty D-. Map 2, Tall, Gray, and Handsome. It's a heck of a task to make a map 2 stand out in a wad where everybody's using the same 3 textures, but Tall, Gray, and Handsome's wise choice of flat ties it together comfortably. Also, it turns out doortrak's not a bad step texture if you just pretend that every set of stairs is an out-of-order escalator. The early Berserk and rocket launcher create the offense necessary to plow through the opposition at a brisk clip, and the use of lighting to point out switches and exits is something we're going to see a lot of in 50 Shades going forward. Grade B, difficulty D. Map 3, the Gray, the Blue, and the Trackly. A surreal choice of setting for a spaghetti western, the Gray, the Blue, and the Trackly is the suggestion of a tech base built between fireblue caves. Megalith hands you every gun in the game without being prompted, and dials up the heat to match your arsenal. The chainsaw functions as a hazard in this vicious SSG fight, and the final battle against a pair of cyber demons and an archvile-led skeleton army manages to justify this out-of-nowhere Map 3 BFG. 50 Shades of Graytall's visual redundancy belies its true nature. This wad weaves between intensities and design styles like few I've played. I guess all that repressed textural energy had to be funneled elsewhere. The stock Doom 2 music playing in the background here really puts in perspective how far people have taken this whole Doom modding thing. Grade B, difficulty B. Map 4, the Alphon Zone. No relation to Pinchy's 2017 Super Megawad, the Alphon Zone harasses you with spiders, cacos, and hit scanners from the outset, offering nothing but a pump action to ward them off. That's more or less the story of this map. Supply deprivation and inadequate equipment are its sole source of challenge. You have to budget 6 stims and medikits, 29 rockets, and at most 2 green armors across the whole map. It forces me to not be a hammerhead, and that makes me cranky. After painful run-ins with revenants, arachnos, and hit scanners, the Alphon Zone caps off on a clumsy archvile and arachnid ambush that can easily end in stalemate. Parking next to this drop-off leaves you both without options if you ran out of rockets. A super shoddy and a few extra medikits would have lubed this map up significantly. On the plus side, the Alphon Zone's tasteful lighting and decoration usage make the graytall aesthetic look almost good. Grade C+, difficulty B. Map 5, Concrete Flagellation. Compact, snappy, and marked by deep lunar shadows, Concrete Flagellation is the most fully realized 50 Shades map yet. It embraces the wad's ascetic aesthetic, outlining shapes with doortrak, accenting points of interest with fireblue, and applying miscellaneous miscellaneous things for flair. It can be a real test of imagination to guess what purposes these uber-abstract environments serve. I thought this might be a nuclear reactor of some kind until I spied these hanging Mussolinis. This map is much easier than 3 and 4, but the SSG fight can zing you if you go along with it. Hop the railing before it rises to evade the pinkies and meatballs, then jump this archvile's bones before he gets warmed up. That's not what I meant to say. Hats off to Quakis for this brute-forced switch texture. That must have taken a while. Grade B+, difficulty C. Map 6, Count Dracula's Castle. No joke, this is one of the best Doom castle maps ever made. From the first look at its gaping fireblue facade, you'll know you're in for something special. Punch through the perimeter defenses and you'll soon find yourself lost in Castle Dracula's dense, interweaving passages. You're looking for all 3 skull keys, which part 3 sets of exit-blocking torches with conveyor belts, I think? Make your way to the battlements for a rocket launcher and hell yes SG. Under no circumstances are you to shoot Romero before you find them both. Count Dracula's main attraction is its basement funhouse sequence. Prepare your eyes. Picking up the blue key starts a psychedelic encounter with Hell Knights, several specters, and a pair of archviles. The Flame Boys will pinball up and down the hallway, but are best engaged in the central area, using the fireblue pillar for cover. I had no idea what the f was happening the first time I did this, but now I'm completely in awe of this fight as a concept. I've never seen Hall of Mirrors used like this. It's pretty incredible. I don't have many quibbles with Dracula, but if I were to cut something, these Macubi would be the first to go, and I might have made one of the keys optional. I always have to rummage through the castle one more time before I leave, which is just as well. There's always one more dumb cacodemon trapped in there. Grade A-, difficulty B. Map 7, Address Unknown. With an opening like this, Address Unknown wasn't going to win many friends. Marcaek makes you take a lap through Revenants, Imps, and chain gun fire, and then slip past a Hell Knight before you even get a weapon. Unless you're brave enough to go balance beaming on ledges separating solid ground from infinity, you'll be living hand-to-mouth for most of this map. I have to say, I expected more in the visual department from 50 Shades project lead. Graytall looks like its typical gawky self here, and Marcaek doesn't bother with lighting until the optional segment. You're only required to visit 2 of the 3 islands, but the northernmost concrete block, reachable from this teleporter, contains the most exciting and inspired moments in the map. Nearly half of Address Unknown's enemies, including its lone cyber demon, guard the BFG, which is ironically only helpful for clearing a path out of its hiding place. For a map that clearly prioritizes combat over good looks, Address Unknown is inconsistent and unfortunately not very enjoyable. Grade C-, difficulty B+. Map 8, At the Mountains of Madness. A texturing tour de force from one of the greatest to ever lay down line defs, At the Mountains of Madness has no business looking as good or playing as well as it does. With its rugged flat choice, shimmering fire blue ore veins, abundant decoration, and gentle lighting, Mountains of Madness manages to transcend the label of concrete monster playground, which is an achievement in itself, but it also happens to be deliriously fun. This is post going down, so Syriac's sword is fully sharpened. A steady stream of foes will start trickling in as soon as you open fire, and there's not enough ammo to camp anywhere, so you'll have no choice but to trip a gantlet of booby traps for ammo, medical supplies, and better guns. The anarchic rocket fest that ensues is a huge endorphin rush. These 2 DIY switches are to be left for later unless you're really looking for trouble, because they'll add archviles, cacos, and/or revenants to the mix. Pressing both unveils a deluge of imps and pinkies and a fireblue foundry being swallowed by the red bars that Syriac peeled off his cave walls. At the Mountains of Madness goes out with guns blazing, locking you in a crucible with 100 enemies, including a cyber demon and several arch-dominatrices who got so carried away they threw me out the window. Syriac wrung blood from a graytall stone with this map. It's the perfect combination of sexy and fun. Grade A+, difficulty A-. Map 9, The Killing Fields. Probably unrelated to the film about Cambodian genocide, the Killing Fields will brutalize those uninitiated to slaughter and surprise everybody else. It's rare to see a map with over 500 enemies in a single-digit slot, and in Joshy's hands, you know they're not just for show. Despite how it looks, the opening fight is the only one that probably won't burn you. Press the fire blue totem to go outside, get some big boy guns, and prepare for an avalanche. If you struggle with this part, the final fight is gonna whip you. No, not like that. Joshy unleashes a wall of revenants, cyber demons, vile medics, and pain elementals. Just in case you thought this would be a mindless BFG spree, there's also a party of Macubi and specters slinking in behind you. The Killing Fields proves that a Joshy map with any set of textures would play as sweet. It's sleek, high-key, and addictive. Grade A, difficulty A+. Map 10, Big Dwayne's Orbital Concrete and Propane Emporium. Well, time to update my top 10 list of favorite Doom map titles. Big Dwayne's Orbital Concrete and Propane Emporium serves as a friendly reminder that Brett Harrell is one of the greatest texturers of all time. This Mechadon opus pulls out all the stops. It's a scrolling, pulsing, shape-shifting extravaganza that legitimizes the Graytall gimmick all by itself. The densely packed auto map and burly kill count might look like too much work at first glance, but Mechadon is a master of making 45 minutes feel like 15. As per usual, Mech gives Cacos a whole lot of love, and he also stacks the Emporium with Arachnos, Revenants, Archviles, and Pinkies, which are dangerous in a surprising number of fights here. For example, without the rocket launcher, this Demon Disco will take a bite out of you. I think this map wins the prize for best labeling of a locked door, and I sort of understand how this switch Hall of Mirror trick works, but somebody in the comments needs to explain how these red, periwinkle, and yellow bars are 1, possible, and 2, legal. Also, good luck finding Mechadon's 6 secrets. I felt Mensa eligible for catching 2 of them. Big Dwayne climaxes on a... I swear I don't mean to keep doing that. Big Dwayne concludes on an epic throwdown. It's you versus the fireblue floodgates, several cyber demons, and some archvile sentries. It feels very reminiscent of the main event from THT Threnodity's Fomalhaut, which came out the following year. Like Fomalhaut, Big Dwayne's Orbital Concrete and Propane Emporium is the keystone of its WAD. Gorgeous, impressive, and exciting outing, and one of Mechadon's finest works. Grade A. Difficulty A. Map 11, Stardust Mayhem. Go fireblue it. No, this bonkers BFG bonanza is an excellent spacer between Big Dwayne and 50 Shades' final run. It's the opposite of subtle, going a bit overboard with its Revenant and Archvile use, but 2 not-so-secret invulns tip the scale in your favor, so long as you're keeping an eye on your cell count. I'm guessing Mulvey assisted mostly in the visual department here, since his combat tends to be a bit more calculated. I could be wrong. This Revenant Monsoon at the end wraps Stardust Mayhem on a crummy note. I wish they didn't have to teleport all over the place. Grade B+, difficulty A. Map 12, The Cakeway. Unsurprisingly, this Ribik's B-side is one of the most fine-tuned and ornate maps in the set. Seemingly named for this row of birthday candles at the start, The Cakeway is downright chummy by Ribik's standards and would have fit nicely into Crumpets, a set of milder, short-form maps released the year after Graytall. The Cakeway makes you cozy up to the demons you're fighting, but I wouldn't call it claustrophobic. Make a loop around the arena and a bushel of Hell Knights and Revenants will swoop in. You can feed them to your old pal Sybe, but don't think you're getting away that easily. Ribik's has another round of surprises queued up for you on lap 2. Watch where you point that rocket launcher, save cells for Mr. Sybe, and the cake is cut. Ribik's went on to become 50 Shades' most lascivious alum. You can't get much more hot and heavy than Sunlust. Grade A. Difficulty A-. Map 13, Everlasting Fireblue. Best known as the speedrunner who beat E1M1 in 8 seconds, 4 Shock Blast brings a utilitarian perspective to Everlasting Fireblue, emphasizing hard-hitting encounters over razzle-dazzle visuals. The Archvile ambushes by the blue and red keys are taut and exciting, with the latter pulling a nasty trick where it lowers all these pillars for a few seconds, giving you nothing to hide behind. You're better off escaping to the first room, getting the BFG, and coming back later, which will also better prepare you for this brigade of boners and beefcakes. Did I just say that out loud? The RuneScape MIDI adds a lot to this map, and I appreciate the overall punchiness. Grade B, difficulty B+. Map 14, Astral Nausea. Astral Nausea is an enchanting, conceptually driven art installation in Doom map form. Broken into 4 discrete zones, which are traveled to by snatching hearts from these pedestals, Astral Nausea plays like variations on the furnace fight in Dobu's secret map from Nova the Birth. Ammunition is sprinkled around each arena, forcing you to earn space, health, and firepower. The Archviles in zones 1 and 3 provide a healthy dose of excitement and bring these pillars into play as cover and face rocket hazards. In my second playthrough, I severely underestimated the final fight. Mama Spider denies you access to the middle, and the Arachnos and Mancubi will take turns toasting you if given the first move. I like playing this map, but I like looking at it a whole lot more. Dobu Gabumaru's commitment to abnormal shapes makes his auto map a one-of-a-kind beauty, and he harnesses the gobsmacking skyboxes better than any other mapper in the project. Astral Nausea is magical. Even if I didn't dig the gameplay, which I think I do, it would be one of my favorites in the set. Grade A, difficulty A-. Map 15, the Serpentine Lemniscate. I learned a new word today. Ever the Doom engineer, Zazer submitted a tremendously involved infinity sign-shaped obstacle course to 50 Shades of Graytall. Coupled with its urgent Esselfortium MIDI, it makes for a climactic penultimate map. The 108 cacodemons lobbing fireballs from the perimeter will be crushed before you exit, so pay them no heed. Those familiar with Zazer's work will detect notes of Helix from PRCP, and it also forecasts the kind of work he'd do for No End in Sight. Snake Infinity propels you forward at a breakneck pace. Speedrunners can probably clear it out in 2 or 3 minutes. I have no idea how Zazer got his lights to behave like this, but it's pretty rad. Hard on the eyes perhaps, but that's what the photosensitivity warning is for. The serpentine lemniscate is a crowd pleaser that doesn't sacrifice Zazer's eccentricity. Grade A-, difficulty B-. I know I called it the penultimate level, but there are actually 3 levels left in this set: 16, 18, and the credits. To neaten up the dramatic arc of the episode, we're just going to jump ahead to map 18, Killer Colorblindness. Killer Colorblindness is a clever pun on Alien Vendetta's first secret map, but the two don't have much else in common besides kicking my ass in back-to-back playthroughs. I'm picking up strong Hell Revealed vibes here. The Rise of the Triad, MIDI, and upbeat rocket launcher and SSG-centric combat make for a stirring first half, the highlight of which is this descending slaughter sequence. Unfortunately, the second half goes full Jonathan Donner, and you never go full Jonathan Donner. Without the secret BFG, which opens when you shoot the wall behind the torch that isn't flickering, you're forced into a no-win situation. If you use the invincibility to fight off these 4 cybers and grab the red key, you've got a slim chance of surviving this mosh pit of pinkies and dead simpletons. If you grab the invul and sprint right to that fight, you've got a higher chance of survival, but you better not have forgotten about that red key, or returning to the cyber room is suicide. After that, a parade of archviles and big goats will stopper up the ending, flummoxing those without big effing guns. It shoots itself in the foot on the back 9, but Killer Colorblindness is still a solid and exciting map. Grade B-, difficulty A+. Map 16, Mr. Graytall. If you weren't expecting to see Time of Death's name pop up in the credits of the megawad you're playing, you might be in over your head. The Canadian designer is legendary for his prolific output, tremendous skill, and his map's brutalizing difficulty. To players on skills 2 and 3, Time of Death is the perfect gentleman. He places 0 pain elementals, 0 cyber demons, and a single archvile. Those of us who like it rough will have to get intimate with 31 archies, 10 meatballs, and 10 cybers. I'm not sure if Time of Death bent the one flat rule or exploited something about Doom's engine beyond my ken to achieve these red, white, and blue floors. In any case, his map is snazzy and spare. I'm always impressed when mappers can rig multiple ambushes to occur in the same room at different points in a map. These cyber and archvile appearances are devilishly choreographed but never overpowering. That is, unless you spray and prayed yourselves away. I think this archvile sex party, damn it, sextuplet, is meant to lock you in with them, but I took the cheese route here. 2-shot 1 more cyber and make sure to save ammo for Mr. Graytall himself. Unfortunately, I did not budget rockets for these last few archies, so I let them have their way with me as Romero screamed his last. What a way to finish. Grade A, difficulty A+. So, 50 Shades of Graytall was one of the pleasantest discoveries of the year for me. At first I thought it was a joke wad, until I read through the list of contributors, at which point I had to pick my jaw off the floor and play it. The zany premise will get you in the door, but 50 Shades quickly outgrows its gimmick. This is a diverse, resourceful, and entertaining set of maps. Moldy, Joshi, Dobu Gabu Maru, Mechadon, Time of Death, Noisy Velvet, Ribix, and Zazer did some unmissable work here. I'm not sure how many people know about this wad, but I want to spread its gospel. Somehow, these folks took meme textures and made lemonade from them. 50 Shades of Grey is a testament to the Doom community's ingenuity, quirky humor, and can-do attitude. I highly recommend it. My final grade is an A-. Difficulty-wise, this wad is lewd, lascivious, salacious, outrageous. It's hard to pin down on account of the extreme variety of mapping styles on display, but I settled on a B+. Fairly tough, but not unpleasantly so. Now for my Dean's List. Valedictorian, Map 8, At the Mountains of Madness. Salutatorian, Map 14, Astral Nausea. Class President, Map 18, Killer Colorblindness. The dunce cap goes to Map 7, Address Unknown. 50 Shades of Graytall also gets a short honor roll, including Map 6, Count Dracula's Castle, Map 9, The Killing Fields, Map 10, One More Time, Big Dwayne's Orbital Concrete and Propane Emporium, Map 12, The Cakeway, Map 15, The Serpentine Lemniscate, and Map 16, Mr. Graytall. Thank you very much for watching, and please feel free to share your thoughts on the WAD down below. I'd love to hear what you think, and I'll heart your comments to let you know I've read them. Now, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge my generous patrons. Aaron Allen, Agile Jackson, Agu XYZ, Alec Wehrman, Alephany, Alex Max, Alex Topfer, Artisan Talzar, Bo Higginbotham, Beatbeard, Ben Barrett, Big Sia and his trusty Glock, Big Pash Plays, Birdburn, Blind as a Mat, Builder Sith, Whitefire, Kappa Bitch, Cheese Wheel, Chris Duthat, Chris O'Neill, Christophine Place, Cutman Mike, Damo, Dan, Dario Romero, Delirium, Doot Yourself, Dorothy Miller, Dustin Rush, Eggboy, Ember, Emeljan, Emma Essex, Endless Moose, Felix Wilson, Francis T218, General Roasterock, Glenn Marmon, Goody, Griffin Upchurch, Hyaksho, In Captivity, Jeff Hibbert, Jeff Sharilla, Jose Ballestero, Josh Ballard, Jude, Just Some Schmuck, Just Great 98, Camille Bernadotte, Killplane, Quan, Leon Staten, Logan Lazalda, Lumnal, Mark Rowland, Master Drew 117, Matthew Gower, Matty Light 1990, Mick Jimbles, Meta 47, Michael Akins, Mike OTR, Miracle Water, Mixer, MK 2021, Moko Mothman MM47, Mozicon, Mr. Bob Cyndaquil, Myolden, Nafferty, Neurometry, Knights 108, Not Obelisk, Number 26, NX Avery, Omnibot, Painful Hill 72, Pezaveng Jaj, Philip Coffey, Pixel Perfect PT, Pyro She, Quibs, Randy A, Red Doomed Earth, Reese Anderson, Richard Fry, Roadworks, Rune, Sega Monkey, Sid Menon, Smole Venom, Snacker Fork, Some Spoony Bard, Space Clanka, Spinner 8, Stonemason, Stupid Nick, Sunriser, Sylvester Press, Tarakushino, That Guy Known as Will, The Cloptologist, The Fiery Charmeleon, The Dinosaur Heretic, The Freeman 500, The Sapphire Try, TJG 1289, Trilby Trillion, Turbine 2K5, Ultra Cow, Why Bimo Not a Crab, William Huber, and Wonkashak. Thank you. I appreciate you all very much. This is Mount Pain 27, and I'll see you in the next episode of Dean of Doom.